Good afternoon, Las Vegas and listeners all around the country and around the world online. Thank you so much for joining us again for Live Unleashed. I'm your host, Kevin Lepine. You can email me, reach me anytime at vegashypnosisshow.com. Once again, that's vegashypnosisshow.com. We had a great week last week. I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful holiday weekend. I hope we all celebrated and that we remembered the reason for the day and were able to also reach out to people who have helped protect and serve us. Also, remember, at Hypnosis Unleashed, all local military and all local first responders always have a free ticket waiting for them at the box office. Join us anytime over at the Hooters Casino Hotel. The show is 8 o'clock every night. And I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk. We always start off with something positive and something to look at. We all have different obstacles we'll put in our way to stop us from succeeding. And the one thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about was doing things on the cheap in the wrong way. It was once said to me that if you think hiring an expert is expensive, try fixing what an amateur messes up. One of the things that people will do over and over in an attempt to save pennies, they will go for something lower quality than what they know they need to do. And unfortunately, nowadays, especially with the internet and having instant access to things available all around the world, it is very, very simple to see when something is subpar. You know when you watch different programming, you know when you look at different promo, you know when you look at different websites, if it doesn't look strong, if it doesn't look effective. And if you feel that way, and it's your product or your business, other people are going to see that same thing. It may cost a little bit more to get it done right, but getting it done right one time is a lot cheaper than fixing it 3 times to get it where you need to be. We all look for shortcuts, but nowadays sacrificing quality is never, ever a good plan. And there's way too many resources out there. There are so many people who are, if you're at a beginning level and you're starting, you don't need to spend millions of dollars on your selected business. There are ways when you're starting off to work with local colleges, working with designers, working with different builders, working on that level, but still achieving to the best of your ability. One of my favorite websites for a while now has been Fiverr.com, where you can actually find people all around the world who are willing to do things inexpensively for the experience, but that doesn't mean it's going to be poor quality. You don't always have to pay maximum dollar to get the maximum result. You can look around and you can shop and still find the quality. But understand that the second you sacrifice quality, you're going to put yourself right back in the hole you started in. And that never, ever leads to progress. We're just going to take a quick 2-minute break. When we come back, we have Steve, August, and Maria. We've got phenomenal magicians, jugglers, and a whole lot more. We'll see you in 2.
Monday Mayhem is back at Gene Woods Racing Experience Go-Kart Track. The stakes are higher than ever, and the winner takes all if you've got what it takes. The winner will get to race a real Thunder Roadster at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in an actual race. So be there every Monday. First race starts at 7. Come early to register. We are located at 121 East Sunset Road at the Sports Center, across from McCarran Airport. For more information, call us at 702-270-8100. That's 702-270-8100. You can visit us on Facebook, or you can go to our website at racingexperiencelv.com. Once you race here, you won't go anywhere else. Monday Mayhem is back.
Hey, it's Roxy from the 702 Rock Show, right here at VegasAllNetRadio.com. Listen to my show every Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. to hear about local artists, musicians, fashion designers, and more right here in Las Vegas. So tune in every Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. to hear me, Michelle Roxy Davis, right here at VANR on the 702 Rock Show.
Hello, Las Vegas from Hypnosis Unleashed. All Las Vegas locals get half off every night at the show, Tuesday through Sunday, 8 p.m. Come and join us for Las Vegas's wildest hypnosis show. Watch your friends get turned into rock stars, watch them do the craziest things, or come and be hypnotized yourself. This show has won all the awards here in Las Vegas, and we want to show you why. Come join us every Tuesday through Sunday night. VegasHypnosisShow.com for more details. That's VegasHypnosisShow.com. Welcome back to Live Unleashed. I'm your host, Kevin Lepine. Joining us is Steve, August, and Maria. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Good
Our
morning.
pleasure.
Now, a little bit of background. What I normally do is I start at the present and then we kind of work backwards.
He's going to give us a present?
Exactly. I'm going to give you right here, right now.
Oh, awesome.
No, seriously, the Van Halen song. I own it. It's yours. You now have all the rights to it.
Oh, wonderful.
Ooh.
So, jugglers, magicians, and reptile performers.
Absolutely, that's us.
And fire eaters.
Yep.
And fire performers.
Where are you doing it? What are you doing?
Usually on a stage.
Okay.
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 All
There
right.
go.
We
That
work.
took care of that.
What I would say we work is, I would call it the corporate market. Some people, call
Private
galas,
corporate.
whatever you want to do it. We just do, a company will come to town, be it Coca-Cola, IBM, somebody like that. They'll be looking for a magician to make their CEO appear. That's us. They'll be looking for a close-up magician to go table to table and do tricks. That's us. They'll be looking for a juggler to bounce a burning barbecue grill on his face and make a live snake appear out of the fire. That's definitely us. That's pretty much what we do.
Now, do you have a website?
They can see me at steveaugust.com,
Perfect. And spelled exactly like it sounds.
just like the month, Steve August.
Now, you're doing how many shows a year would you say you guys do?
Oh, wow.
Lately, it's been a lot less.
Well, when we say lately, we mean for like the last 3-4 years since the economy went down.
Yeah, it's been going pretty slow. I would say at the peak of our career, we were doing
200 maybe.
Oh yeah, 200 events.
Double booked sometimes.
Yeah, a year. But now it has slowed down a lot. Unfortunately, it's just the way the economy is right now. And luckily enough, doing what we do, Maria's career does very well. It sounds arrogant, but it's like we don't have to do the jobs we don't want to do, so I'm not going to lower my price. Mm-hmm. So I should say the jobs are still out there. It's just I'm not going to lower my price to do it.
That's a good way to put it.
I can hold out for my price, and I'm happy doing that.
Well, but there's something really huge to that too. One of the biggest steps in business is that moment when you can look at a gig that you don't want, that doesn't put you where you want to be, and the moment where you can go, no, actually changes people's career pretty big.
That's true.
I agree with that. It does. Does it make us elite? No more elite than I was the time before. You know what I mean? I'm still got the same juggling skills. I'm not a 9-ball juggler, but I can juggle 7. I'm not any better, but for some reason it does put you in a view from the agencies and the people that are booking you to like, oh, well, this guy's not desperate,
And they're good.
And there's a strength to that. When you're coming from a place of desperation, people can smell it on you. They know it. And as soon as, and no matter what your business is, whether you're a performer, whether you're a lawyer, a doctor, whether you are starting off making a paper company, when you're scrounging and you're begging and you're desperate, you have no ability to negotiate.
Right.
Right.
But that moment that you stand up and go, no, if I don't want to take this particular client on for these reasons, but I'll take this client on, I think that puts you in a lot stronger of a position and a lot more comfortable.
I agree.
And also being able to negotiate. You said that word negotiate. I'll use the numbers juggling as an example, okay? If somebody calls me up and says, we only have, let's just use the number $10. Yep. We have $10 to hire you. And I'm like, well, I really wanted 20. And they say, well, thing's only 10. I don't want to stay home. I mean, I'd rather go out and work. And I'll say, okay, well, I'm not going to juggle 7 for that. I'll juggle 3. So I'll still work that night, but they're not going to get my A material. So in other words,
out the bowling balls and the chainsaws and the swords. It'll just be 3 balls and 3
But it allows
clubs.
me to drop my price without, oh gosh.
But you're still getting more even doing that than a lot of people are charging these days.
This is true. But again, holding up to my price still puts me at a level. But again, a lot of times when I've even said that to people, they come back and they pay the full price, which lets me know the money's there, the job is there. It's just you have to convince them that there's a value to what you have to offer. And not just going with the cheap stuff like you were talking about earlier.
And actually, what you were just talking about, even in entertainment, you get what you pay for. Absolutely.
And I've said this many, many times. Ruth Chris is a huge, huge restaurant chain, big money maker. So is McDonald's. You can't fault the way that McDonald's makes money. Being a billion served is not a bad thing. But there comes a point where you have to choose, are you filet mignon or are you a Big Mac? And you adjust accordingly. Now, how did you start off in this whole thing, Steve?
It was a great way to meet girls.
Okay.
For real.
No, I'm not gonna disagree with that. I think card tricks in high school was my only hope.
Oh gosh, I mean, you go back into the 70s when every one of my friends was in a rock band, trying to meet girls. I mean, when you're a teenager and you're deciding what the heck do I want to be when I grow up. For me, it was pretty much I just want to have long hair, meet hot chicks, and play with reptiles. And here I am. So I stayed true to that. But it's funny. But yeah, a lot of it had to do with, just a fun thing to do. And I never wanted to be like anybody else. I mean, I got hair down to my butt. I never wanted to go to any place with the intention of being unnoticed, obviously. And what would get me noticed? Being in a band, I would have been just one of 100 guys that are, just really common. And something about juggling just grabbed me because of the uniqueness of it. It's, magic is fantastic, but unfortunately, I could go to the store and buy an origami. Anybody listening, if you don't know origami, it's a wonderful magic illusion. Jim Steinmeier made it. It's fantastic, but I could really buy it on Monday morning and perform it Monday night. Juggling, you can't buy that skill. And to me, it just had so much more appeal. Unfortunately, magicians get paid more, so I should have went into the magic with the origami.
Well, that's why we added
but
magic.
I stuck with the juggling, and because I really like the challenge that it was for me. I've never been a competitive type person. I really like, how far can I push myself? And, it's like I wanted to learn how to juggle, so I taught myself to juggle 3, but 3 led me to 4, 4 led me to 5. And then it was just about bettering me at every level.
Now, what gave you that ambition to want to be a little bit better? So you mastered 3, you mastered 4. What made you go, if I bring this 5th one in, or if I bring in this next step, it'll help me to grow? Because a lot of people, they'll learn to throw 3 balls in the air, and that's good enough. What made you want to be better?
Gosh, I wish I could.
You started when you were 16, 17, right?
Yeah.
And I remember you told me the first time you juggled, you were just watching Batman, and the dog had 3, they had a dog, and there were
That's really
just 3 balls on the floor, and he's like, he just picked them up, and he started juggling 3 really fast.
Yeah,
it
came
didn't
to me
take
really
much
quick.
effort. It came to him quickly. And sometimes I think because it came to you quickly, he does have this thing where he always wants to do better and more, which I think a lot of performers do.
I think it's an artist thing.
It's an artist thing.
But there's also, for a lot of people, you pick up something, you can do it, you get bored with it fast.
I did. Mm-hmm. I tried because he tried to teach me to juggle, and I didn't have the patience. I gave up.
But anybody can juggle.
But
I wasn't born with some. Maybe I learned a little bit
It just
quicker than
takes
some other
practice.
people, but there's jugglers out there, phenomenal jugglers.
Yeah.
Anthony Gatto, Ivan Purcell, guys like that. They kick my butt juggling. And you know what? What they learn in one day probably would take me 2 weeks to learn. But the point is, that doesn't mean I can't learn it, and that doesn't mean Maria or you couldn't learn it.
Yeah.
Anybody can do what I do. It just maybe it comes a little bit faster, but you can still do it. Just don't give up.
You also liked karate, and you took karate and
Yeah, it was
got your
taekwondo.
black belt, taekwondo, and got your black back when
But
when it took a long time to get a black belt.
But
by the way.
now that's also, but now we're talking about something different here. You, especially back then when they weren't promising a black belt in a year or 2 years.
No,
Now we're talking discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
Do you consider yourself a disciplined person?
I do, and I think it was my Taekwondo training as a teenager. Again, back in the 70s, it was, hey, Bruce Lee's the man, and he still is, But
they just put him in the new UFC video game.
Really?
And basing it all around that idea that
Wow.
he is still the reason that most people got into MMA,
Absolutely.
because that's who you watched.
oh
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah. I see Taekwondo in your juggling acts though. In your club routine, you can actually see some of the stances pop out.
I didn't know any better. Nobody taught me to juggle, so it's like I had this 4.5, 5 years of training in Taekwondo, and from there I went to juggling, and I wish I
It
would have
added
kept
to your
with it.
movement on stage.
But you can see the movements, and it's like, but nobody told me you can't stand like that. That's not the way a juggler stands. And I'm like, it's typical Korean, Motokwon Association stance. I can do it.
And then he did go to Second City as well in Chicago.
Nice. Yep. Always good to
Oh,
learn
what
to interact.
wonderful
He said
training.
He said it was one of the best.
But
yeah.
that stuff is like, that's like heroin to an artist. I mean, you can't get enough of it. So it just was one thing after another. And I think during my teen years, I just fed myself with so much of this that it was just exploding to get out.
Well, and learning, the great thing about Second City and really any quality improv training is it's not about being funny on stage. It's about learning to work with the other people on stage, learning how to give everybody their own moments, and how to sometimes even break that fourth wall bring the audience in and not get flustered when something unexpected happens.
Oh, no, you can't. That's fun, though. When something unexpected
Yes.
happens and you're like, what am I going
That's
to do
what
now?
you think.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Maria
No,
hates it when I
it's-
do that to her on stage.
It's one of my favorite things in the
You guys
hypnosis
love
show.
it.
I'm working with different people every night.
Well, yeah, you do
Sometimes
with
somebody's going to go in a direction where I just go, huh?
And then you got to reach back into the database of
Yeah.
all the years of experience and say, if I got something I can grab from to use for this moment,
And
or are
you
you just
do.
going to step up to the plate, swing the bat, and come up with something brand new? Rock on.
Now, what was your first paying gig?
Holy cow. My first paying gig, I think was
It was right after you
my
learned
very
to do-
first act.
Okay, well, it probably would have been as a clown. That's another thing
No,
he
no, no.
did.
Before that.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, I was 12 years old, again, to meet a girl. And a buddy of mine and I, we did an act we called Doo-Wop. It was where, okay, it was a comedy act, had nothing to do with juggling, magic, anything like that. He stood behind me. I sat in a chair. He stood behind me. And he kind of do it, ooh, doo-wop, ooh. And he did that while I told a stupid story. And something about a guy named Fred who ripped out his fingernails and fed them to people. I don't remember. We were 12. But that was my first thing, and we got paid for that. And
remember
I
you
still have
telling
that script with blood on it, actually, because I stabbed him while we were writing it.
Oh,
He
my
was trying to
gosh.
grab it out of my hands. I had a little toy knife, and I'm just like stabbed him in the thumb, and it's got blood on it. But I got that framed, and if he's
my
listening right now, he's probably going to crack up when he hears this. But I still have that. But that was my first paid gig. But from there, we ended up growing, and we had a spot in our show. We were doing at Sally's Stage. It was in Chicago. And we just, we needed, he's like, we need to do some kind of filler for like 30 seconds so I can change a costume. It was something like that, if I remember right. And I just said, I can juggle. And so I did that, and then all of a sudden, getting applause for that, I'm like, okay, this is fun. And it just kept growing. He could ride a unicycle, so he taught me to unicycle. I taught him to juggle. And between the two of us, we started this act, and then the August Brothers were born, and we became the August Brothers. I'm still Steve August. That's not my real name, but it just kind of stuck once I came out here, and, you know, it just never stopped.
At what point did it feel like it became a career for you?
I would say it became a career
We moved out here probably.
a little bit before when I met up with Maria, because
just
I
before-
finally
oh,
got
yeah,
to the
that's
point.
right.
I did have day jobs, you know, that I got fired from constantly because I took jobs off to go and, you know, do shows. But right around the time, I would say the late 80s to early 90s, is when I started making more money performing than I did in all the day jobs. And I was able to support myself. So to me, that's when you're a professional, when it is your profession. Okay.
And no more day job. Yeah.
And now, when did you two meet?
We met in 91.
Yeah, she
just
was drunk. I
just
had cash.
Before
Perfect.
Thanksgiving.
Now, was this Vegas or Chicago?
This was Chicago.
Okay.
And I
You picked me up at a heavy metal bar. You
I
threw
did not
yourself
pick
at me
you
like a
up.
little
I
tramp.
did
You did.
not.
Wait,
Okay,
which
argument here.
heavy
We
metal
really
bar?
did not.
I may or may not know it. I
The-
spent a little too much time in Chicago.
The Thirsty Whale.
Okay, I grew up in Detroit. Our
Oh,
one of
yeah.
our quickest ways of escaping was to go to
Of course.
Chicago for. In
Oh,
fact,
nice.
In
The
fact,
Thirsty Whale was in the burbs.
Chicago is my only musical regret, actually. This would have been 94, 95 when Miller Lite was doing the blind date tours, huge bands, small
Yes.
clubs.
Yes.
I had the ability to go. I found out it was going to be the Chemical Brothers at like a
nice.
150-seat club in Chicago. I didn't like the Chemical Brothers enough. It wasn't worth me
Okay.
driving 6 hours each way, really. It was the Chemical Brothers opening for David Bowie when he was doing the entire
nice.
Changes CD, and I missed
nice.
it.
Oh, man,
that's
a
a
kick in the
regret.
butt.
Yeah.
That's a regret.
Okay,
We
so
hear
you
a
guys
regret.
met. So you guys met
yeah,
in Chicago.
So, we met. Actually, my sister already had met him through mutual friends, so she had already known him, and we just started. You know, it was late night. Everybody goes to Denny's after the bands are done at the heavy metal bar, and we just went to Denny's and we just started chatting. And I think my sister mentioned to you that I had snakes, and he's like, "Oh, I have snakes," and that's how we started talking. And
We've been together ever since.
yeah, pretty well. Actually, no. I actually thought I was going to be dating other people, but I thought I'd start dating.
Yeah, but
dating
one night
around.
with me, and you know.
And I tried to start dating other
Sealed the
people,
deal,
but yeah, it just didn't
they couldn't
last.
come deep because I'm so my charm, wit, personality, charisma.
The
My parents
modesty.
were not
Modesty
thrilled.
is
Modesty
most-
too.
Oh,
Modesty's
yes,
my
yes.
big thing.
Yeah.
My parents were not thrilled, though. Believe me.
When,
But so I just went on a couple. I went on a road trip with him very shortly after I met him, West Virginia, And I just watched him do a show. I think it was for DuPont or something.
I think it was DuPont.
Yeah.
And I was on stage, and
And I
trying
just
to explain
it was the
that there's
first time I saw him do a show.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, that is so cool. And there was a lot of other variety acts either, which I never really was exposed to. Maybe because I lived in the burbs.
Juggling gets chicks. See?
It does, but it's true. I don't think variety arts. It's hard to get exposed because there isn't a venue for them like there is for music.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
There isn't just a juggling bar.
Exactly.
No, there
Which
isn't.
sounds frightening when you say it out loud like that too.
Yeah, that would actually be a scary thought.
But I think the thing was for her, it's like when you say you're a juggler, they're like, oh, you do kids' birthday parties? Because that's really,
Yeah,
you
that's
do
what you
kids'
think.
birthday parties,
Which
or
he
you're in a
never-
review
yeah.
in Vegas. At that time,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
had jugglers in review still.
Yeah.
And, they don't realize, or what a lot of people don't realize, and to anybody listening, if you want to make it, there is a whole world in between, birthday parties and David Copperfield type
Absolutely.
entertainment where you can make a nice, comfortable, and very enjoyable living. And I would encourage anybody, go check it for it.
And I
Do
had
it.
a day job, but
You
I was
did.
very lucky that I worked for. They're like dear family to me. So when I started assisting Steve, they just let me take off whenever I wanted. I didn't get fired like Steve did from all his jobs, I was very lucky. I mean, I even went to Europe with you for 7 months, and my
Yes.
job was still waiting for me when I got back, which was awesome. But we wound up moving to Las Vegas like within 2 months when we got back.
When did you guys move to Vegas?
In '94.
What made you want to come out here?
It was really him. He was like, you know what? I think I'm done with. In Chicago, he was a big fish in a little pond, and we knew coming out here
Yeah.
would totally change that. But he wanted
Talking to the other
grow.
jugglers, they were just like, Steve, you get all the work. Steve, you get everything. And I'm like, I felt cool. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. But then after a while, I looked at my bank account. I'm like, if I'm on top and this is the best I can do, I got to get out of here.
It definitely pays different.
But you know what? That's what a lot of people do. Unfortunately, they don't have the guts to get up and leave. If your show is unleashed, I mean, pursue your dreams, folks. Just because it was scary to move from Chicago.
Absolutely.
You have family, you
Not
have
for me.
roots, and all that stuff. But
And one
Yeah.
thing I've always told people is, they say it's hard to leave your roots, but your roots are always there.
They are,
You can
and we go
always
back.
go back. I mean, for me, leaving Detroit. Well, first I left Detroit to go to New Orleans. Katrina sent me back to Detroit. The reason I jumped on the opportunity to come out here was I knew I wanted to be the best in the world at what I did. And one of my friends looked at me and went, well, you're the best hypnotist in Detroit. Maybe the best in Michigan. Maybe the best in the Midwest. Kind of like being the smartest kid with Down syndrome, though, isn't it? and his whole point to me was, you're putting yourself in a small pool. When are you going to challenge yourself?
Yep.
And I wanted to be around the best entertainment because I knew it would force me to be better.
and you came to Vegas.
Him too.
Same thing I did.
Similar thoughts, and of course the review shows were still he. You probably missed it even later, but he missed it. He really should have moved out here in the '80s. Back when there was jugglers in almost every variety show, and when we came in '94, that was already on the downhill as far as acts into shows. Partly because of Cirque, coming into town and show after show. Yep. But I don't know. Again, and the only reason I say that is because it didn't pay as much as it used to.
And also, just like you were saying, just because you're not in a show on the Strip,
No.
it doesn't mean there isn't an entire career.
Oh, there's so much.
Yeah, because every hotel has at least 5 different functions going on any given day.
And there's comedy clubs like
Yep.
crazy out here, and I mean, we're loving the one-nighters. Now that it's I don't know. I did it. I was in a review for a very short time.
2.
Well, I'm not going to count that one. That one was too short. But
That was only a few weeks, and we still haven't been paid.
I know, right?
Sounds like a lot of
wasn't
Vegas
our
shows.
fault.
Vegas,
yeah,
baby.
that's
Yep.
Vegas, but it was we weren't the producer, so when you're not in control, that's what happens. But the other one that I was in, it was supposed to be a long term, but after 6, it was 3 weeks into it. It lasted 6 weeks. 3 weeks into it, and all I was doing was fire eating and like 2 or 3 magic sets, and I don't know if maybe I just realized something about my personality, but I got bored fast. And I know I could do it if I had to, and it was, didn't I say I can't do this every night?
It was great because we wrote the magic, we did all the things that
Yeah.
we wanted to, but it had to be the exact same thing, hitting the exact cue every night.
Yeah, maybe
and what you
because it wasn't
mentioned-
my show.
Yeah.
I didn't have control
And
over
when
it.
we
I
do
could
for
change it
plug
up.
and play.
Yeah. I
I
didn't
gotta
have
say,
any leeway.
when we're doing a corporate, 80% of our stuff is solid.
Yeah.
And then that last 20%,
A lot
I
of
play
it's
with.
improvised.
And that's what makes it fun.
And you can't do that when you're not in your own show.
No.
When you're pretty much a hired actor, you know, if you're hired to do Shakespeare, you don't get to ad-lib the monologues.
You don't.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not our flavor. It didn't, light our fire the way it didn't. I live for that 20% of my show. Not that I don't enjoy the 80. The 80 is just great because I know it's going to get me applause. It's my great material and it always works or else I wouldn't be getting hired. But
I want to touch on a topic really quickly before we go to break, because there's actually two topics I want to hit on before we go to break and before Will joins us at the bottom of the hour. Yep. The first is reptile rescue. Now, you guys work with snakes.
Yes, we do.
But you are so active and involved. Vegetarian or vegan?
Vegan.
Hardcore vegan. Okay. We don't wear or eat or do anything that harms animals.
Now, you guys are really, really particular about that. In fact, what is reptile rescue?
That actually started.
That's more your hobby that kind of started, and I'll let Maria go on that one.
I mean, Steve and I both had snakes when we met. I know I mentioned that earlier. And long story short, he bought his snakes. I bought my snakes. I also had an iguana. He had a hedgehog and some parrot. The parrot was a rescue, and then he had a few little critters here and there. He had a couple alligators when I met you.
Yep.
And actually, having these animals. Some people just keep hoarding them, but we started feeling sorry for them, I guess. And, I guess our emotions are different. And we had baby snakes, like within the first year that we met. Yeah. And we're like, oh, baby snakes, let's sell them. We'll make all this money. And half the people we sold the snakes to in the first year didn't even have them anymore. They either had died or they just gave them away to somebody else. So we're like, you know what? There's something wrong with this. And that was the first and last time we ever bred snakes. So long story short, we decided we're never, ever buying another animal ever again. So we started kind of like just taking stuff in randomly just from friends that didn't want them. We came here already with about 10 to 12 animals when we drove to Vegas.
Yes, we did.
Because we had accumulated them just in that year or two before we moved out here. But and then when we came here, it really sprung up because the market out here as far as schools and educational shows, we decided we want to do an educational show. So we made a fun one that we could do at birthday parties, which we really just try and discourage them the whole time during the birthday party. They don't realize it. I'm sure the parents are listening. And then same thing with the school shows. Yeah. So when we moved here, I just couldn't say no to every little critter that needed a home is what started
having
it.
A girl that can't say no is usually a good thing, but when it comes to having, 40 reptiles,
it started with our vet because we weren't that well known yet. It started with our vet. We have this lizard. They left him here. They didn't pay the bill. Do you guys want it or I'm going to euthanize it? And we took it in. It's not the animal's fault. So, and I'm allergic to fur, so that's why I lean towards reptiles. And then
but it became a little bit
did.
overpowering
It
because
did.
she started taking in all these animals, and I'm like, all right, we need to start getting some funds to care for
Yeah.
this.
And
And that's when her
weren't-
modeling career started taking
Yeah,
off
that
because
helped a
people
lot.
would pay money to see her, with, hot chick with snakes and things like that.
Yeah. So we just, So definitely that definitely paid for that passion. We're not nonprofit by any means, but it definitely, paid for
Now
it.
we're gonna swing back. We're gonna talk a lot more about the animal rescue
great.
too. But before we go to commercial break, now I mentioned David Bowie.
Yeah.
And there's actually a reason for that, and that's that. I don't know how big of a Bowie fan you are.
Oh my gosh.
You know that David Bowie had to change his name
I do know.
from
Think of these beads I'm wearing, and you'll know why.
Yep, from and what was David Bowie's real name?
David Jones.
And because of what band?
The Monkees.
I have
You are
always
looking at my tattoo, aren't you?
No, I have always been a Monkees fan.
No,
always.
I'm a Monkees fan.
Now
You got ink on your arm that says it?
I have
Step
no ink.
outside,
I have
buddy.
no ink. I do have Davey's book. I do have Mickey's book. I have them both autographed. I
They're
was
awesome.
not able to attend the convention. I did see Davy
It's so
Jones. I
fun.
got to meet him
Nice.
at a
Yep.
casino gig, Casino Windsor.
Yep.
A
We did
million
too,
years
yeah.
ago. It was
Yeah.
it was such a cool
Oh
show.
my gosh.
We saw them at the Desert Inn before they imploded it.
Wow.
Years when we first moved here.
Oh,
Now-
no, the Monkees an obsession for me. It's terrible.
It is.
But now, and I just turned my girlfriend onto the Marx Brothers because she had
Nice.
never
Oh, there
really
you go.
seen
Yeah.
any of. I just had to watch Duck Soup.
Oh, nice.
John Lennon.
Marx
Once, when
Brothers,
asked
yep.
about the Marx Brothers, when asked about the Monkees being compared to the Beatles, he went, "They're not like us. They're the Marx Brothers."
Yep.
And I think that was a great comparison. But I could go on and on. what brought you into your love for those guys?
Oh my God! Well, it started because I'm that old, and I even mentioned the beads. These are Davy Jones beads, designed by Henry Diltz, with the one red one in the back and everything. Yep, Henry Diltz was the photographer for the Monkees,
gonna be the
for
TV
the
show.
Stones, for the Doors, and all that. Obviously, I saw the TV show as a kid, and that's what started it. But it just even grew the more I learned about them and how. If I was to say it, I'll use Mickey Dolenz thing. Leonard Nimoy really became a Vulcan.
Yeah.
The band that wasn't a band really became a band. But the hate and the love that they received at the same time. I mean, so much of the world, they outsold the Beatles and the Stones combined in 67. They were so loved, but at the same time, they were so vilified by so many. I'm like, these poor guys, what kind of torture they went through, but I often feel that way about my own career.
My least favorite story about the Monkees, and I swear if I was ever in a boy band, I would hire like Mike Nesmith or Peter Tork II to manage me. Their first major concert, Hawaii.
Yes.
They each got paid for a sold-out arena, $99 a piece, because it was a promotional event for the television show.
Yep.
I don't think in the history of music anybody has quite taken it in the shorts the way these four did.
No,
They
they
did a
were
lot.
ripped up, and only getting $450 a week when the merchandising was selling in the millions every week.
Oh,
It was amazing.
Well, Davy Jones once said his barber was making more than him because
Yeah.
he'd sell clips of Davy Jones's hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Just an amazing, amazing thing. I think that the guys that did it, Bert Schneider, Bob Rafelson, they caught lightning in a bottle, and they didn't know what they had. They made it. They just didn't know how to control it.
I also kind of look at them and I kind of tie them into Laugh-In. And the reason I tie those two together is there was such a genuine sense of fun when you were watching either of those. When you watch the Monkees, you really believed that these four had probably been in a band together since school. And you believed that moment, and there was something genuine and real. And Mike Nesmith also said it really clearly. Fine, tell him the music was written and played by other people, but the show, that was us. That was our improv. That was real, and it was authentic. And I think you could sense that.
It was amazing.
Oh,
It was
that show.
such a great and
We could
fun
do a whole
show.
show on the Monkees.
Oh
if
God,
you
yeah.
wanted. Let's
They
do it.
were.
We saw 3 of their
and-
concerts last year.
Yeah.
And I loved it was Davy Jones's book, where like the end of it, he's like, so how do I really feel about all these guys? How about we just say that somewhere at a beach house, they're still out there making music and causing trouble, because that's where we want them to be.
Nice.
We're going to come back in 2 minutes. Will is going to join us, and we'll be back with Steve and Maria.
We're too busy singing to put anybody down.
Hello, Las Vegas from Hypnosis Unleashed. All Las Vegas locals get half off every night at the show, Tuesday through Sunday, 8 p.m. Come and join us for Las Vegas's wildest hypnosis show. Watch your friends get turned into rock stars, watch them do the craziest things, or come and be hypnotized yourself. This show has won all the awards here in Las Vegas, and we want to show you why. Come join us every Tuesday through Sunday night. VegasHypnosisShow.com for more details. That's VegasHypnosisShow.com.
Hey, it's Roxy from the 702 Rock Show, right here at VegasAllNetRadio.com. Listen to my show every Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. to hear about local artists, musicians, fashion designers, and more, right here in Las Vegas. So tune in every Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. to hear me, Michelle Roxy Davis, right here at VANR on the 702 Rock Show.
Monday Mayhem is back at Gene Woods Racing Experience Go-Kart Track. The stakes are higher than ever, and the winner takes all. If you've got what it takes, the winner will get to race a real Thunder Roadster at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in an actual race. So be there every Monday. First race starts at 7. Come early to register. We are located at 121 East Sunset Road at the Sports Center, across from McCarran Airport. For more information, call us at 702-270-8100. That's 702-270-8100. You can visit us on Facebook, or you can go to our website at racingexperiencelv.com. Once you race here, you won't go anywhere else. Monday Mayhem is back.
Welcome back to Live Unleashed. We're joined by Steve and Maria, and now joining us, my co-host for the second half from New Orleans, William Arendell. Will, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, how are you today? And nice to meet you, Steve and Maria. I'm actually today broadcasting from Houston. It happens to be my vacation this week, so I'm spending it with some friends in Houston. Steve and Maria, you guys have been together a long time. What is it that you guys would think? What do you think keeps you guys together?
Oh, boy.
Oh, wow.
What keeps us together?
I don't know if we can talk about that on the radio.
Well, no, because there is also that thing where if you're working together, you're living together, you're in a relationship, it can get claustrophobic for a lot of people, and there can be a lot of creative fights.
Especially entertainers.
Especially, I know.
It's because long ago I realized my wife is always right.
No. Well, maybe on some stuff.
Yeah.
And some stuff. Steve has a secret, though. He says every time he wakes up every morning, he just says, "Yes, dear.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry," and he's done for the day.
Yeah, pretty much get it over with, because I know throughout the day, whatever I did, I'm going to regret. But let's just get it over with.
Seriously.
Crazy, wild, uninhibited sex.
Of course, we had a lot in common when we met. We have our passion, love for animals. We've always had that. And we have changed a lot and grown a lot since we met, too, though.
Yep.
I mean, even that is, like you said, that is a long time. And most of my friends that
been together since 91.
Yes, we've been together since 90. Married
since 97.
Since 97, yeah.
Happily married for about 4 or 5 of those years.
Yeah, that's pretty good, actually, compared to some people.
I know she loves me because she doesn't hit me as hard as she used to.
You know what? We have... we do have... Steve pretty much takes care of the business side as far as the entertainment stuff goes. I kind of just stay out of that as far as booking and all that stuff. I do have my 2 cents when we're putting stuff together, though, like when we're doing it. But you write most of the material. He is funnier. I'm better if I improvise. Something will come out funny, but I can't write something funny.
But I'm a terrible joke teller, and she's fantastic.
Thinks,
I just write to our strengths. But what keeps us together? Oh my gosh, go for it, hon.
Commitment. Nobody has commitment anymore.
True.
Trust. Nobody has trust anymore. Yes, lots of sex.
We have a swinging good time.
You guys actually mentioned something during this conversation. I don't know if even know if you noticed it, but there's this nice division of boundaries, and when you work together, that's really important. He does the writing, but you can tell the jokes, and you seem to respect. I've seen it from you, Maria, throughout this interview, of kind of respecting what he does, and even when he's talking himself down, you're talking him up. And it's this great chemistry you guys have. So I think this is one of these boundaries you have where he takes care of the business. I think when two people are trying to run both sides of everything, it really can get into play.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, two cooks in the same kitchen is not good.
You're right. I'm just very lucky that I am the type that is, just tell me where to do, where to go and what to do, and I'll do it.
However, on the other side, other side of our business, we do work with we have some successful app business.
Yeah,
and
we do have
I
other
am
businesses.
clueless on that. Maria runs 100% of that, and if she says lift this, do that, touch that, I do it, but I don't do it until she tells me to. But that way, I think what's nice is if when it comes to the app business or her modeling career, if stand or fall, it's all on her shoulders, and when it comes to the jokes and that kind of part, stand or fall, it all comes on my shoulders, and we can't really, because I see a lot of husbands, wife, they put the blame on each other when they're both. No, it's all about ourselves and allowing each other to do what we can do and what we do best. She knows what she does best. I know what I do best, and we don't try.
And like you said, we are together practically 24 hours a day, because we work out of our home like many entertainers do. But we did we did separate our office. We do have separate offices. We did that about
just because noise.
Only about 4 or 5 years ago. That's part of the reason. But it's also sometimes when if I hear him talking. I'm female. Sometimes I can't keep my mouth shut. That's going to be inevitable. So if I hear him talking to an agent when he hangs up, I would put in my 2 cents once in a while, and I'd be like, well, why didn't you pitch this and that? And he's like, and then he'll be like, he'll give me a reason why because of something I didn't hear on the phone, or he's like, yeah, you're right, maybe I should have. But it was I guess part of it was we were getting too busy, wasn't it?
We couldn't
both be on the phone at the same
time in the same room, so we got separate offices.
But you got really sad when I did that.
I did.
He got so sad. He's like, you don't want to be in the same office. He got
You
really.
don't.
But then I said,
we work together, we cheat on each other together, we do everything together, and you want your own office now. What happened? Has the spark left our relationship?
he did. He really did that. I thought he was going to cry. And then I said, and then I said, but Steve, you have all these toys and comics and collectibles sitting in boxes in the garage. If you have your own office, you can do whatever you want in that office.
So
and
now-
then his
Okay,
eyes
now
got
that's
really
not
big.
fair.
Oh,
His
well, you
eyes-
should see my office.
No, as soon as any woman plays the you can put up your collectibles and your toys,
She's smart, isn't she?
arguments over, you've won, I get to hang up comic
But now
books.
if you walk into my office, the walls are filled with memorabilia from the Monkees,
Yep.
Batman, and pictures of her naked.
And he's got
Nice.
pictures, and like I told, and I go, you could paint it whatever color you want, and he painted it black and purple, like it's like a bat cave in there. And I really wasn't thrilled with the black. I'm like, I really think your
late.
office should be brighter because you're in there
Too
8 hours a day.
late.
And I finally just got him to at least open his window. I know you.
late.
I've always wanted to find a can of Acme plaid. Just
Oh,
paint the
that I
walls
know.
with that.
I remember that.
Oh my gosh! But yeah, so I don't know. Lots of years, lots of
Yeah.
fun. We have fun. I don't know. We're just. I'm very laid back, and he's funny. I mean, he makes me laugh every day. I mean,
I
if
do
somebody
other things
didn't
to you
do
every
that,
day, baby.
if somebody didn't do that, I couldn't be with them every day of my life.
Yeah, I think humor is such an incredible part of relationships, and it's really tough when you don't have one because sometimes there's nothing else left to do but laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can't laugh, you know that really brings things to a screeching halt. Because sometimes a joke, I mean, it held the TV show MASH together for how many seasons?
True.
You know.
And
Um,
and it's
what
easy
do you-
to be
Go ahead.
together when everything's happy and everything's good and everything's running perfectly. But in those down moments, and you know, whether it's money or just the doldrums or whatever, if you can't laugh in that moment, there's gonna be trouble.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Steve, you said earlier that you were kind of, I think you used the word tortured in your career or poked at in your career. What was that about? Is it just about being a juggler or?
Oh, when you were saying, that you really never got to live your dream.
Oh.
Is probably part of it, and this is no secret. We tell our friends all the time. It's the sad part, but I'm gonna. Okay, you say first how you feel.
No, you go
because
for
I have
it.
my opinion
It's-
too.
I
have
all
my
right,
opinion. We moved out here because you wanted to be in a review.
Yeah, I did want to do a review
Because you came
show.
out here before we moved out here and saw all these shows with the jugglers and.
But when I came out here back in the '80s, a juggler could make 10 times the kind of money that was being offered to what it was in the '90s.
Yeah.
And it was kind of depressing that I got thrown. It's for me the tortured part. I guess I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I wasn't really prepared, but the tortured part is I'm doing very good in this corporate market. I'm making great money. But to use a line from George Michael in one of his songs, it's filled my pockets, but it's emptied out my soul. In other words, I may be doing a lot of, I'm doing a lot of good stuff, but because it's the corporate market, it has to be, very perfect every single time. I don't get the luxury of being obnoxious or being silly. They're like, no, Steve,
some do.
I can't say, but I would say 9 out of 10 times I have to be totally corporate, G-rated, that kind of thing. They've even told me, hide your hair underneath a hat so that you don't offend our audience. Maria can't, wear a skirt that shows her knees. So in other words, the joy in that I'm getting paid great money to do these corporate events.
You don't
is
like
also,
being censored, that's all.
Yeah, but I don't like being censored, and unfortunately I have to do that because I'm doing it to make the money. So I filled my pockets, I'd empty out my soul. Artistically, I feel like I've become a little bit bankrupt in the last few years in that I'm not able to do, Maria has a wonderful magic routine I wrote called I Love Dick. It's hysterical. And it's about guys named Dick Van Dyke, Dick Van Patten, Dick Clark. And it's hysterical.
All innuendo.
It's all innuendo.
And funny.
And every time she
Yeah,
does
the
it.
blah blah routine, yeah.
Oh, it's if you've seen it, it's a home run. It kills every time she does it, yet we can't book it because you might offend somebody because a pretty girl on stage said, I love Dick.
Unless it's a private party, not corporate.
Yeah. So, does it answer your tortured question where part of it is super successful, but at the other time it's also very stifling?
Yeah.
I live constipated.
You live constipated, and it's part of that too. Like the dream doesn't look exactly like you thought it would look, and
well, no, the dream
you get
does.
to do what you want.
The dream is still there. It's just that I'm not able to live in that dream the way I wanted to. I thought by the year 2000, people would not be so hung up that if you walked on walked on stage with long hair, that the guys in the audience would still sit there and go, "Look at that fag." I'm like, I don't need this. I thought we grew past that, but it's still really like that.
Can you say that on the radio?
Oh, we just did.
I just did. But that's what I hear. I mean, Maria, do we
you're
not
just-
hear that?
Oh, absolutely.
Gee whiz,
Absolutely.
people still spit at me and throw crap at me when I'm in
Yeah.
Houston, Texas, actually.
Yeah,
when I'm in the
Texas is
restaurants.
not a good place for Steve.
You
We
try
found
being
that
a
out.
vegan with hair down to your butt in Houston. Doesn't work
Actually,
too well.
Houston has an awesome vegan market now.
Yeah, let's go to Austin. We can get a bite.
mean,
there.
Austin.
But you
Austin.
get
love
the idea,
Austin.
and unfortunately, that's the market that we work to, and sometimes it can be very,
But I have to add this.
Yeah.
I know he's sad about that, but in my opinion, when we moved here and he made every effort to pursue his, original dream, a lot of stuff was out of his control and beyond his control. And I don't like when people get sad or upset or sad, sad that they are not getting what they dreamed of because of something that's out of their control, because they tried. And I think that's what's important.
Yeah, I do have that. I do feel good that I tried, but again, it's the artist in me that just won't
it's
let me
going to be
accept
the
it. I'm
artist
going to
in
keep
him.
trying until
Yeah.
I'm pushing up daisies.
And you're definitely more an artist than I am. I was thrown into this market. I didn't pursue it or have a dream. And so I look at it totally different. And I love performing, don't get me wrong. I mean, applause is awesome. So fun to be on stage. But I know you look at it differently than I do. Whereas I'm happy and doing more than I ever thought I would do in my life.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I'm dying to ask you this next question then, is that long after a lot of people would have stopped writing and just gotten a stock corporate routine and just kind of, let that last bit of their soul die, you're still writing and you're still kind of producing material. And it sounds like trying to get that original dream still going. What keeps you going?
Oh, gosh. You know what? Yeah, we jokingly referred to it with Kevin just a moment ago, but what keeps the monkeys going, that they're still selling out venues?
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll actually be in front of an audience like they are that appreciate all that they really did. Maybe one day I'll get to an audience that really appreciates everything that I do.
Yeah.
Um,
And like you said, since he is still writing material all the time, and a lot of it's for me, because as a female magician, I actually do get booked more than he does, because there's
and you
not
get
that
paid
many.
3 times as
I
much.
know. But
Jeez,
but
I wish I
he's-
had
but,
boobs.
but you're proud of that.
You
He's
do.
proud.
They're just not as marketable.
Yeah, they're not. But you are proud of that part of
I
it.
am.
I mean,
I love-
that part
I
he
love
never
that.
thought he would do. That you pretty much created a monster, is what you keep saying.
You're my Frankenstein monster. Yeah,
but
I did.
you still hear me perform. When I perform a new joke of his and everybody laughs, he feels like he's the one on stage.
Oh, that's a
But
boner.
then again, could Andy Kaufman have been so good without Bob Zamuda anyway?
Exactly. So yeah, it's crazy. But how do you answer that question as an artist? That's what there's something very rewarding about struggling. I don't know how to explain it other than that.
Yeah.
There's just something rewarding to an artist about struggling, because when you reach the plateau you shoot for, the next plateau is the one you want.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you can't be satisfied. So this is part of my demon that I'll live with forever.
Now, Will, did you have
It is.
something you wanted to cover today?
I did. I wanted to kind of cover, it almost dovetails a little bit to talk about PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. It affects many people every year, and a lot of people think that PTSD just has to do with veterans that come back from war or things like that. But actually, I really kind of took a new understanding of PTSD when treating children after Katrina. A lot of kids after Katrina were diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. And, it was really interesting to me that they didn't have the ADD before 2005, and they did after. And they had many of the same symptoms that you would have with attention deficit disorder, just difficulty focusing. They had anxiety, confusion. But then when you start to talk to them about why they couldn't focus, you would start to realize that they were going to this place deep back inside their head, which is sometimes a little bit different from ADD. And sometimes they would see halos around words, which is a symptom of PTSD. And they would have what you call emotional flashbacks. And an emotional flashback is when you get the feeling of something that happened in the past, but you don't have the visual or the auditory hallucination or memory along with it. And so they would remember parts of Katrina but be attributing that anxiety to something that was going on presently. Post-traumatic stress syndrome has a lot to do with two types of memories. One is a non-consolidated memory, and these are the things where you remember something that happened 3 weeks ago, but you don't really remember. You get the cliff notes of it. And the other is a consolidated. Well, that's consolidated memory. A non-consolidated memory is when something happened 10 years ago. It feels like it was yesterday. It has a logical timestamp, but it doesn't have an emotional timestamp. So you know it was 10 years ago, and it feels like it was yesterday. All these non-consolidated memories are stored in the hippocampus with a strong tie to the amygdala, which holds fear or emotional memory in our brain. And what happens then is the reason it stores that memory is because before we had language, we needed this because when we walked through the woods and we saw a plant, we ate it. If we threw up, 10 years later, we would see the plant and have that feeling of throwing up. So these memories are meant to protect us. But what happens then is that when we're out of danger, the PTSD happens by continually triggering us over and over and over again. And it can trigger again in that emotional memory way, or the full memory can trigger. But the problem, too, with PTSD is that the effects start to become cumulative. Every time you're triggered, then the brain thinks we're in danger again, and it stores that memory as yet another trauma, and it starts to compound itself and get worse and worse and worse. There's lots of treatments out there for PTSD. Among those are medication treatments and therapeutic treatments. It depends on how severe, whether you would need medication or not. Some of my patients will have medication for a short period of time until they can get off it. Some with very severe PTSD may have to have it for a long time. The types of therapeutic treatments are cognitive behavioral therapy. They are exposure therapy. And I've moved into desensitization and reprocessing, which is a therapy that I've been leaning more towards over the years that I've been training. And it's using a series of eye movements that tires a part of the brain that holds the memory, that allows the brain's considerable processing power to get at it. Because part of the issue with the non-consolidated memories is that they don't change over time. And through the use of the EMDR, you can get that memory consolidation to happen and turn it into a consolidated memory. So you no longer have that, and the amygdala is no longer triggered by it. The treatments can last, if it's a single episode of a trauma, can be short, 6 months to 3 months, or it can last years if we have what's called complex trauma, which I'm going to go into another day, where a particular trauma is repeated over and over and over again, or different types of trauma, especially in childhood, are repeated over and over and over again. And you can find more information about this at helpneworleans.com. That's helpneworleans.com. Thanks, Kev.
My pleasure, Will. Thank you so much for joining us. And now the Reptile Rescue, what's the website for that?
reptilerescue.com. We've got links to our Facebooks and our Twitters there, and you can always click on that. We appreciate you doing so. And you don't have to be a rescuer to save animals' lives. You can save 100 animals' lives a year just by going vegan right now.
Had to get in there.
Oh, no, you know what? And it can be a great thing for people. There's actually a lot of benefits to a vegan diet. I'm never going to join you on that end of it, or at least not now. But then again, I just had my gallbladder taken out, and we could argue that maybe a different lifestyle might not have.
I feel better in my 50s than I did in my 30s.
Yeah, people think I'm in my 20s, and I'm 47.
And now also the website for booking you guys?
You know what? You can hit us at reptilerescue.com.
Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
There's
We can
actually a
right through
corporate little section on there, too,
now,
as well.
Do you guys do donations through the site as well?
No, we don't.
Okay.
It's totally funded off Maria's modeling career, and we want to keep it that way. I don't want to be accountable to anybody. It's like I want to do what we can the way we can.
Yeah.
And the great thing, once again, I mean, talking through this whole thing, and we're about to wrap up, but just because you have a dream that says you want to go in this direction, like, just using David Copperfield as an example in the magic world, there's, the birthday parties, there's the David Copperfields, there's 1,000 career paths in between the two as well. There's a lot you can do. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Maria, Steve, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us on Live Unleashed. You can email me anytime at info@vegashypnosisshow.com. Have a great week. We will talk to you next week when Anthony Cools will join us.
Groovy.